I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sure this is pretty awkward being that I just closed the Department of Education. Do you even have a job anymore? Do all the kids here have purple hair? Well, the real reasoning behind it was if they can't do math, then they can't tell how high egg prices are getting. Why did someone call me the Riddler on the way in? What? The Rizzler? I don't have Riz, what's that? Well, it's not my problem if they can't read or write. We did close half the streets on my way here. I just hope Kathy Hochul didn't charge me for congestion pricing.
I voted for President Trump.
I mean, you're an educator. You didn't vote for Trump eliminating federal funds.
No, I did not vote for that. I do not think that's what the voters want. It's devastating.
County wants to cut our school funding. I don't think that anyone voted for that.
Do you mind if I ask who you voted for in the election?
I voted for Donald Trump.
80% of this county did vote for Donald Trump in November, but that doesn't mean that they believe that anything will be cut.
After Trump won, I knew I had made a huge mistake. A lot of guilt and genuine shame. Probably going to get some understandable hate for this.
So Trump did what he said he was going to do. He dismantled the Department of Education, sending all control back to the state. Some people cheered, others panicked, and now we are left to ask, was it worth it? Like, teachers who voted for Trump, was this all worth it? Let's talk about the teachers who voted expecting better pay, fewer restrictions, and less government interference. Are they still celebrating or they are regretting? Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking. When you saw this video, first, for years, Trump and other conservatives pushed the idea that the federal government had too much control over education. They urged that education should be left to the state. Sounds good in theory, right? But when Trump finally got his way and got the Department of Education, that meant billions in federal funding disappeared, especially for struggling schools. Anyway, I've got some videos for you guys which I'm just going to let through. Then we come back and talk more. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment, and please do well to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up so that more people can see it. And credit to all creators on this video. Let's go watch.
What's your reaction to closing the education department today?
Well, we knew it was coming, but it's still a day that I dreaded. I dreaded it as a teacher, as a parent, certainly as a governor now. And the sad part for me about this is Donald Trump doesn't know anything about education. This has been a long-time dream of the far right to crush the public education system, to take that money and transfer it to private schools that don't exist in a lot of areas or rural areas, and to undermine some of the missions of the Department of Ed, making sure everybody gets an education, regardless of race, religion, or abilities. You know, students like my son who depend on IDEA and individual education plans to make sure that they're treated equally and get the best possible education they can. That's a hallmark of America. I think America's great contribution to the world is our public education system. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't care. And I appreciate you showing that photo because it's so obscene that he would put a mock classroom. We all know he's never been in one. He wouldn't last for a minute. He's never done it. He's surrounded by people who know nothing about education. And they want to make this about bureaucracy and cutting. This is about children. This is about broadband access in their schools. This is about the research you were talking about, pedagogy, things that we learn. And then it's about the Civil Rights Department at the Department of Education that makes sure that we don't have a situation where a Ruby Bridges is escorted to school with police. And so we're back in an area where we can segregate. And he knows that curriculums and those decisions are made on a local basis, but they muddy the water. So look, just like your previous guest, thanks for having her on, but it's chilling. They don't care about law. They don't care about where the American public's at. And that kind of segues to why I'm getting out there. And there's a reason that these Republican Congress members aren't holding town halls, because this is so unpopular they can't defend it. But I'm going to make sure that the voices of their constituents are heard.
Tricking so many Americans into believing that getting rid of the Department of Education is a good thing has got to be one of the most heinous crimes against Americans. The marginal dollars that you think you're going to save, which, by the way, you're not. What a joke. They fucking played you so hard. Education, access to education, access to resources that enable education is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. To strip that away from people It's disgusting. I'm smiling, but it's not funny, and I actually genuinely feel bad for those people. This is not one of those, like, dancing on your grave kind of things. No, I feel so bad for you.
This isn't just about smaller government, it's about whose profits. The dismantling of public education isn't leading to better schools, it's paving the way for private and charter schools to take over. And guess who benefit from that? Billionaire-backed education companies, for-profit charter schools, and religious institutions are jumping in to fill the void. Meanwhile, public school teachers and students, especially in lower income areas, are left behind. This isn't just an education issue, it's a class issue, it's a race issue, it's a future of America issue. And the teachers who helped elect Trump, oh my God, many are realizing they were sold a dream that is turning into a nightmare, okay? Because this is exactly, will I say that's exactly what they voted for? Because a lot of them didn't know this was going to happen, okay? So I wouldn't say this is what they voted for, because they're already saying they voted for him, but this was not what they voted for. So here's the $1 million question. Teachers that voted for Republican Party, was it really worth it?
So Donald Trump just signed an executive order to shut down and dismantle the Department of Education, which is illegal and against the law considering the Education Department was established by Congress, and therefore Donald Trump does not have the legal or constitutional authority to shut the agency down. However, if Congress decides to submit legislation to place a vote on whether or not to shut the agency down, then technically we could see the end of the Department of Education. And if that happens, the consequences and fallout would be devastating. Number one, the Education Department funds public schools. So without it, states would be required to fill in the funding gap, which a lot of states cannot afford to do, especially the red states that are subsidized by the big blue states. This would result in massive teacher layoffs, a deterioration of quality of education, and a loss of funding for most public schools in America. Number two, the Education Department sets the curriculum for public schools. So without it, MAGA governors and MAGA politicians would be setting the curriculum for subjects like history and science, which is terrifying. And number three, the Education Department oversees and distributes payments for student loans. So that is just skimming the surface of all of the bad things that could happen if the Education Department gets shut down. Yet that is exactly what Donald Trump just signed an executive order to accomplish. And as I said at the beginning of this video, an unlawful executive order. He does not have the authority to do this. Please somebody hold him accountable when he breaks the law, which seems to happen every single day.
So Trump signed his little executive order to dismantle the Department of Education today. And guess what? The Department of Education still exists. And do you know what else? In the executive order, it states that they are leaving alone Title I, Pell Grants, and I believe special education services. Because you know why? Because there's statutory protections for those programs. Even in the language of the executive order, the Trump administration has to acknowledge that there are certain functions of the Department of Education that they are not legally allowed to touch unless they get rid of the entire department, which is why I keep saying that it is important that the Department of Education is technically still alive. Do I actually believe that they are going to leave Title I funding and Pell Grants and special ed alone? Absolutely not. They are going to try and fuck with that, and it is going to get sent up to the Supreme Court when that day comes. Another little bit of important information that I think y'all need to know is that the Trump administration's first attempts at shuffling money and programs around from the Department of Education to other departments in the federal government has already failed. They tried to start moving student loans over to the Treasury Department. They said, we don't want that. I'm sorry, we don't have enough people to deal with the responsibilities that we're already tasked with. We don't want student loans. Thank you very much. Surprising no one, right? Because just like everything else they've tried to make more efficient, there's nothing efficient about taking all of the responsibilities, roles, and programs underneath one department, moving them to other departments, and then expecting those departments to handle them with as much care and responsibility as the people already tasked to do that. while simultaneously firing half of everyone that works at those departments. The trimming of the fat from the Department of Education serves nothing more than to cause chaos within the department and make it basically non-functional. This has nothing to do with sending anything back to the states. Your state's not going to see any more money because of this. Your school district isn't going to see more money because of this. Do y'all see what this is all about? I mean, just the executive order itself is confusing and nonsensical. They're dismantling the department, but we're keeping this, that, and the other. We're trying to shuffle things over here, but they don't want to take that program and that responsibility. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is efficient. And you know what? It's all on purpose. What better way to make the average everyday parent that's sending their child to public school not trust the public school system? I'm already seeing dozens, hundreds of well-meaning parents in my comment sections and my DMs saying that they are pulling their children out of public school because they just don't want to deal with the confusion. They don't know the uncertainty of whether or not their child that's currently receiving services that are critical to their educational environment may not receive those services anymore. They don't want to deal with that chaos. This is the aim of the Trump administration. They want as many kids to be withdrawn from public school as possible. Linda McMahon serves to profit from this because once she's done with her tenure and the whole system collapses, she's going to be waiting in the wings to do what? To privatize it. I'm so disgusted with this country. Fuck every teacher that voted for Donald Trump. Y'all are the worst. My least favorite group of people right now.
Was eliminating the Department of Education and sending everything to the state really the answer? Are we truly better off with the levels of chaos in our schools? And for the teachers who voted for Trump, do you still believe he had your best interests at heart? Or are you feeling the sting of broken promises? Because at the end of the day, the people who suffer the most from these policies aren't politicians, they aren't the wealthy, they aren't the people pushing for school choice while sending their own kids, okay, to elite academies, okay, to the ones who suffer, everyday teachers, students, parents, who just want their kids to have a decent education. So I ask you again, teachers for Trump, was this worth it?
Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table to figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money.
It's official. As of 2 hours ago, Trump has officially signed the executive order shutting down the Department of Education. Trump signing this executive order is not only straight out of Project 2025 and their promises, but it also will harm 2 out of 3, if not all, Americans. This is the official document that was posted on the White House page. As you can see, it is dated March 20th, 2025, and they are calling it Improving Educational Outcomes by Empowering Parents, States, and Communities. Executive orders. It goes on to say, by the authority vested in me as the president and by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and to enable parents, teachers, and communities to best ensure student success, it is hereby ordered. The rest of the order goes on to read that he is trying to shut down the Department of Education. It goes on to read, with the Department of Education's authorities, the Secretary of Education shall ensure that the allocation of any federal Department of Education funds is subject to rigorous compliance with federal law and administration policy, including the requirement that any program or actively receiving federal assistance terminates illegal discrimination obscured under the law, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or similar terms and programs promoting gender ideology. I told you yesterday, he was gonna sign it. And today, he fucking signed it. This will not be good. So for you guys saying, oh, great, and that this had nothing to do with Project 2025, there's the fine print along with all the other executive orders that he signed.
I don't think this is about Republican or Democrats. This is about education, for God's sake. Like, if children are not able to get educated as much as they want, you guys already know what the world will turn into, right? This is about the future, and if we don't take a serious look at the damage being done, we are going to have a generation of students who are less prepared, less educated, and left behind, right? Because they know nothing about education. Most of the people who are supposed to train them are either losing their job or have lost their job, or they're not even anywhere to be found. The Ministry of Education or Department of Education, who is supposed to take care of all of this and make sure that qualified teachers are being, sent to some of these schools, they will be nowhere to be found. If you are a teacher or a parent or just someone who cares about the future of this country, now is the time to ask the hard question. Education isn't just another political talking point, it's a foundation of everything. So, was it worth it for all those people who voted MAGA, or are we finally ready to demand better? Anyway, guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Let's have that conversation, and please do well to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up so that more people can see. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope to see you guys on my next video. Thank you so much, and see you guys on my next video.